For the new growth theories, as we know that the classical and the neoclassical version, that they are mostly dependent on the exogenous factors. So the new growth theory has arrived, and that is giving us the endogenous factors in it. The theory that our unlimited wants may lead us to ever greater productivity and perpetual economic growth. So according to new growth theory, real GDP per person grows because of the choices people make in the pursuit of profit. So here you can even control the diminishing rates of return. So we do focus on the innovation, like we have one theory which is related to Romer's model. Hope you all have heard about it. This was also the part of your integrated fourth semester program. Hope you all remember Romer's model. When we do talk about the choices and innovation, or the word innovation, or we invest in the research and development, then it means we are focusing and emphasizing on the beta factor, that is the beta parameter. If you compare between a Solovian model and the Romer model, the Solo model says the beta value is zero in his model because they cannot have control on the diminishing returns to scale. But in case of Romer endogenous model, they are focusing on research and development, innovation, and all that, which is actually controlling this diminishing returns to scale, and then they can even have increasing returns to scale. So Romer is emphasizing increasing returns to scale by inducing this beta as an endogenous factor of the model. So this beta value is actually greater than zero. That is not equals to zero. So the new theory of economic growth emphasizes three facts about the economies: the human capital, which was given by Professor Lucas. So that is also, giving us increasing returns to scale. So for because the human capital is existing, there are the innovations and more choices in the economy. Discoveries result from choices, and discoveries bring profit, and competition destroys profit. So here, the important behavioral theory I want to quote, and that is what the Maris theory. Maris theory says that if you will not do innovation like research and development, then what happens? You will have your product life cycle. The curve is like a total productivity curve. It means the initial stage, this will give you the increasing returns, then the constant and the maximum returns, and then finally it will decline. So you can stop these, the constant returns when you will get an alarm of the constant returns, because the market is now standardized for your product. At that time you require more research and development in your, particularly, the more inventions you can do with your existing product, and then only you can survive and you can able to, increase this particular graph. Otherwise this competition would destroy your profit. So it is a survival theory. If you are talking about a new growth theories, then the discoveries are very important. It's a continuous process, then only your productivity curve would get a rise in the long run. Otherwise you will come to the declining stage. Your capital per labor would generate more diminishing returns to scale, and then there could be a situation of shutdown too, according to the Maris model. The human capital and choices. People decide how long to remain in school, what to study, and how hard to study. Okay, so this is why important, because in some of the countries, when they do investment in primary education and secondary education, okay, the one thing which is very important, that is the means of a school time. Okay, so it means how many years you are spending into the school. That is very important analysis, and this is actually inducing a growth for the long run. So that is the investment in primary, because the base is your primary sector and primary education, and then the secondary education. So this base has to be invested first, and then higher education. So all the way, how means years of schooling, giving you the more marginal propensity of education to rise for the long run. Discovery and choices. The pace at which new discoveries are made and at which technology advances is not determined wholly by chance. So discovery and choices is also basically a projection for the long run. See, whatever you are investing today, that is a physical investment and also the human capital investment. This is not giving you immediate result. But the entire theory of the endogenous growth models, when they talk about the conditional convergence, they do look at this initial capital, but this initial capital, how to utilize with the other conditional factors like education, if that is being done in the short run, then can give you, you know, the proper results in the long run. Or their analysis says that the marginal propensity in the physical capital is not giving you that much hike if you are unless you are investing into the marginal propensity of this education. So the physical capital would give you the result into the increasing returns to scale only when you are investing into the education. So the skill is required with along with these discoveries. So that is why the pace of discoveries is entirely dependent on this technological advances, but these technological advances are based on the skill which you acquire for that. So it also depends on how many people are looking for a new technology and how intensively they are looking. The forces of competition squeeze profits. So to increase profit, people constantly seek either lower cost methods of production or new and better products for which people are willing to pay a higher price. So we there is a model of Porter. We already have discussed, I think, about that in case of international trade when we discussed about the Verner's and Posner's theory. The Porter has talked about the created demand. So once you have a created demand in the economy, and by that version, you can, invent the product even at the higher prices. So once your new idea is in the skimmed market at the skimmed price, then definitely people are willing to pay the higher prices. So how to earn profit? Those strategies are very important in these growth theories. Two other facts play a key role in the new growth theory, and those are many people can use discoveries at the same time. Technical knowledge is potentially a public good. So this is one thing, like what I told you in explained you in the Posner's model. They have to follow and imitate those things. So we should follow this thing as a public good. Then we have here the physical. Uh, Let me see this. Yeah, physical activities can be replicated because these things are very important. The skill what you acquire, what training and education you are giving to them. Okay, so we do talk about now how this the cycle would run for the new trade theories. So first of all, which is important, that is the people want a higher standard of living. Okay, this is one thing why they want a profit incentives. So this is a cycle. Okay, once you are getting innovations and incentives, and then it is inducing the more standard of living. So let me come to the complete diagram first. Okay, so we want a higher standard of living. Okay, and then for that you're going for such incentives for innovation, and then it is giving you new better techniques and the new better products. So basically from this level only we are having the created demand. If you are reaching on the standard of living, this is definitely uh, over and above subsistence level. And because the people have desire now for a new product which is actually a created demand, which is not your basic humanity. So that is why there are the innovations which are taking place into the economy, and based on that there are the new and better techniques and the new better products. So the idea which is generated, that is coming from this and then this. Then we have new forms born and old forms die. So this is actually supporting the Maris analysis. If you are making, the research and development, and you are continuously, talking about the new strategies and operational strategies which you are in, using it in your production process, then only you can survive. Otherwise, the competition can destroy your the profit level. So new farms definitely would born would with more innovations, and the older firms may also survive with the innovation. So the new better projects would come and the jobs would be created. Then Better techniques is basically giving you a target of a more laser, and then this new better products is a more consumption of a goods and services. But the important thing is that this is coming only from this. So the one base which is very important, that is what a real GDP, which has to be, should be a continuous process to arise. And if it is happening, then you can induce a growth in the economy by making an innovation. So what all classical theories were talking about, that is only giving an idea how to increase the GDP real growth. It means by having this diminishing returns to scale also, you can generate more real GDP, and that they have shown with their own productivity analysis. But this new theories is also, adding one important thing, that you can stop even this diminishing returns to scale. Once you are in line of production, then you can generate the skills and operational strategies and can stop all these diminishing returns to scale. And those innovations would, enhance further standard of living, and this standard of living would induce more created demand, and this created demand would induce more of the consumption and the laser in the economy through the technologies. So a higher standard of living, but people want yet higher standard of living, and the growth process continues. So here in this case, the people will arrive or start with this higher standard of living, because the real GDP growth persists in this case, and then ends with this more higher standard of living. So that is the idea, that this growth is a continuous process and would always increase according to this endogenous model. Now, the another major difference between this exogenous and endogenous, for all exogenous theories, they are doing, the all countries, they are doing the convergence, or they are proceeding for the convergence for achieving or targeting the steady state growth. Okay, if you talk about the Solovian analysis, there are the few of countries which are uh, developed one, which can be a faster than these all developing. But the developing countries can, converge or develop countries because of their less diminishing returns occurrence due to the less capital availability in their country. But ultimately, they want to reach on a steady growth level. Okay, so it means there is a position. What is a steady growth? There is a position, then the consumption is optimal. Okay, whatever you save, that will be equals to the consumption. So whenever the economy is at the initial stage, then the capital per labor would generate some diminishing returns to scale, but at the same time your savings should be higher. So your physical capital investment, whatever you are making, you're trying to make more of the saving. Why? The reason, because the present generation has to forego their consumption for make their future generation to more, happy. So that is why the steady state growth is a long run analysis. And in the long run, when you're reaching to the steady state growth, your saving and consumption both would be equal and you are happy. Okay, so there is some happy state in case of exogenous model. And that is why you want to proceed from real GDP to higher real GDP growth. But in all endogenous model, because you are starting with the higher standard of living, okay, so from 1 2 3 and all such processes, when you are coming and arriving to this level 8, then still you want higher standard of living. So again, this is giving you the more inspiration to do more, generate more demand, and also to do more innovations and get the incentives out of it. So the market should always in the situation of boom, so there is no steady state in case of endogenous growth model. Is that clear to all? So we can see here the productivity curve, this new growth theory by using the productivity curve. So capital, okay. So this is our productivity curve. An increase in capital per hour of labor brings a movement along the productivity curve. The expansion of human capital and technological change increase labor productivity and shifts the productivity curve upward to PC1. So you can directly see there is A to B, which is a jump. So we are not proceeding to A to any point to here. Okay, you're directly jumping to this high productivity curve. So your real GDP actually would enhance your capital per labor whenever is increasing. And why? Because when capital per labor is increasing, at the same time your education, your skill, your trainings, everything, operational strategies, the new innovations, whatever the research and development you are making, all these things are helping to stop and control these diminishing returns to scale in the economy. So the economy moves through the process, repeats. The economy moves to a point at C, then to points of yet greater capital per hour of labor and the labor productivity. So all the way, the economy would grow with the real GDP in this way, because it's a continuous process and every day there is a new technology. And as we know that it is more realistic approach, because all countries are following this endogenous growth models now. Though there are some least developed countries and developing countries, they still wait for the other countries to invent. But uh, even more small countries like Finland, Japan, they have shown how the growth or the real GDP can be achieved with the skill and also the trainings and also the education, the technological advancements. So that is also they have proven. So this I'm skipping because these are just data which was based on the earlier analysis. So it's just the sign of convergence they are trying to show. So I'm just showing this how these countries, see, the Japan was a small country, it's an Asian country, and definitely once you are talking about the initial level like 1960, the Japan was not that much developed. Okay, but what happened, they have utilized all the conditional parameters, the conditional convergence, and we can see that this is now very nearer to this Europe and this United States, and that could be now more nearer because the data is only till the year 2000, so that you can assess in your assignments and all that, that how these the Japan has converged to the other developed countries like United States, Canada, and then Europe. Similarly, here you can see that the Africa, you can see, still is waiting, the outside world to, to invent for them. So because of some other reasons and the factors are also, responsible for it. But the countries who have shown the tremendously, the good performances, they are converging to the other countries. Like there is a Western Europe, we all know the custom union they have. So they are also, converging to the developed country like United States. But if you have gap like that, then still the story is far, but still they are trying to converge. They may converge maybe in the longer period, but the policies which they adopt, that is entirely depends on this. So it's just about a convergence. Skipping this. Fine. So preconditions for economic growth. So economic freedom is probably a fundamental precondition for creating the incentives that led to economic growth in a market economy. So economic freedom, a condition in which people are able to make personal choices, their private property is protected, and they are free to buy and sell in the market. So here we do require some other factors also along with this conditional convergence, and also what the Solow has mentioned about the unconditional convergence. There are other factors also. It's not only about education. Okay, education is just one of the component what the Lucas have talked about. We have also the political parameter too, which we may call like political economy, and those factors are very important for the country itself to grow. Like the China, they have a different kind of government, and that's why they are performing accordingly. And we have a different kind of government, and that's why our policies and our implementations are different from other countries. So this political economy role is also important to give you a rise. So how the people are protected, how their properties are protected, how much they are happy, how the people are coming to your country, whether they have a freedom of investment or not. So this is also influencing the inflow and outflow of a capital and the growth of a country. Economic freedom requires a protection. This we have done, the property rights. Okay, so further the policies to achieve faster growth. To achieve faster economic growth, you must either increase the growth rate of capital per hour of labor. So that was the focused, the emphasis was given by even the classical theories, Harrod, Dormer, neoclassical, and the Solow. They have talked about this capital per labor a lot. So this is one thing. And then you need to increase the growth rate of human capital and increase the pace of technological advances, improve the economic organization, management, and system. Though we will not discuss about this economic organization, management, or system in our, the syllabus with what we have in the endogenous growth theories. But yes, there are the few models which are talking about it. And as I was mentioning, the behavioral theories we have, like the Morris, Williamson, Baumol, they are talking about this economic organization, management, or a system which is also inducing the growth. The main actions that governments can take to achieve these objectives are they can create the incentive mechanism. Okay, like we also have the export promotion. The council is giving the best exporters to as an award, and also the best business awards we have. So those incentives can also be generated to encourage more innovations and encourage saving also. Then encourage research and development. The saving is a very important idea. Then always this the Harrod, Domber, and Solo was talking about the saving has to be the boosted move. Whatever the income is coming, like the Harrod analysis says that the income is an autonomous part which induce saving, and the saving induce investment. Okay, so what Keynes have talked about, it was only for investment, but that Harrod, Domber, and the Solo has cashed up this what the Keynesian assumption was only investment and generating effective demand, but they are focused on the saving more, as the saving is the only factor which can induce the investment in the economy. So this was somewhere absent in case of macroeconomic theories, and that's why the growth theories have come up. They encourage international openness. Okay, because we know that the WTO came up, and after that only this the international trade was the enhanced. Otherwise, the 15 years back or the 64 years back, we know that what was the status of the tariff the countries were charging on the other countries. So international openness is also required, and the which can encourage the more innovation, and also applicability of the Vernon, Cannon, and the Posner's theory, and also the Krugman's analysis of new innovations of the intra-industry trade model. Then improving the quality of education, that's also important, which is also a very the important debate nowadays going on in our country, which is a new education policies. Hope you have heard about it, like this our chancellor, Professor and Dr. Kasturi Rangan, he is also involved in that. So new education policy will give you a new insight and a new quality education for all the sectors like primary and secondary and higher education. And after 3 days, I guess on Friday, I have also the interaction on this quality education, and especially during this, the COVID pandemic. With this our education ministry and also with the NEPA, so I have this discussion. So this is also very important why the people are worrying about it, because this is the investment and which may help you and which will definitely help you in generating this conditional convergence for all the countries. So, and you should get an idea about the 10 top countries of the world: Denmark, Finland, and all these countries, Australia. They are doing really well in this quality of education. And then create incentive mechanism. So this we have talked about a lot, encourage saving. So this is just a the detailing of all this, so I'm not going into this. And how much difference can policy make? A well-intentioned government cannot dial up a big increase in the growth rate, but it can pursue policies that will nudge the growth rate upward. So it's about the political economy. The policies which we are making, like Atmanirbhar policy, that is also can help us for the long run for making unconditional convergence, because it will make our local products and make it the more with a highly innovative, and if we'll go for more investment in that, so definitely will come up with a manufacturing as a manufacturing sector in the world economy. But yes, of course, it will take time, but this is a political economy which a policy implementation and their efforts which can give you another growth model. Fine. So this was about the basics of growth theories, and in all I've just tried to relate all the growth theories in it. So Bharat is now coming, so he missed out. Huh, Bharat? You were late. So, any questions in this regard? Then I can go with another topic. Yes, everyone. No discussion. कोई सब सो तो नहीं रहे हो?
Ma'am,
Okay.
excuse- ma'am, can you
हाँ?
send us some study material because we don't have access of
तो
library book.
क्या क्या नितिश वापस कम अगेन?
मैम स्टडी मटेरियल कुछ सेंड कर दो ना क्योंकि बुक अवेलेबल नहीं है हमारे पास अभी।
हाँ हाँ, उसकी चिंता मत करो, वीडियोस भी आपको मिलेंगे, स्टडी मटेरियल भी आपको मिल जाएगा, उसकी तो आप चिंता ही मत करो, है ना?
थैंक
आई
यू
एम जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट योर क्वेरीज. So if you have any
मैम।
doubt, any queries, because we discussed about few things, like all the models. I think Solo I touched somewhere, Harridomer I touched. I just wanted to relate it. And then this endogenous models, of course. So, if after studying all these models, the most important models, just telling you because of further reference, the Solo is the most important one because it's the base of in all the theories. It's the base of all theories, whether you are talking about a neoclassical or you're talking about monetary growth models or you're talking about endogenous. Okay, so this is the one which is very important. And second theory is that is the Harrod and Dormer, and Harrod and Dormer especially for the developing countries analysis. And the third, which is your endogenous growth models, all endogenous growth models. And the fourth I would keep, that is the monetary growth model. So these four are very, very important in the entire syllabus. Okay, so if you will get an idea of all these four, then you actually will be graduated in the subject of growth for the further, I guess, for your competitive exams, for your interviews and all that. So these theories you need to focus, and this will give you, the whole idea for all other uh, development aspects, growth aspects for the future. Okay. So shall